So let's talk about some of the tips for employers with video interviews. One of the first things you want to do is decide what kind of video interview you're going to do. Are you going to do the one-way virtual interview that gets recorded and then gets reviewed later? There's some platforms that specialize in that. One of the challenges with the one-way virtual interview, one, is the candidate is having to speak into a camera. It's just like doing this webinar. I can't see feedback or interaction with the group, and makes it very difficult to have that conversation. One way to coach candidates through that is to let them know, hey, look, just imagine someone else is on the other side of this camera who is going to review your interview, and they're going to hear your answers. This is your opportunity to give them a richer understanding of who you are and what you're about and why you want to work for their company. And so that kind of coaching is necessary for the one-way virtual recorded interview if you do that. The other thing to keep in mind when you're doing that one-way recorded interview is if you do a lot of these, your hiring manager or your interviewer who reviews those interviews might get tired and get fatigued because there's no interaction, and they've got the same challenges that the candidate has. There's no interaction, so they can't see body language, they can't see anything, they can just hear the answer, see the answer. And so you want to coach and you want to space the number of interviews that you're having someone review. And so that's the big thing on the one-way interview. So just things to think about as you're thinking about doing that recorded interview. The other is the live two-way interview, where you've got a candidate, you've got an interviewer, they're on the camera, they see each other, they interact, you record that, then your interview teams can review that interview, and they get two benefits. They get to see the candidate and how they respond, but they also get a chance to see the interviewer and what kind of questions the interviewer asked, and be able to just think about, hey, that question didn't seem to match what we're looking for, or we're looking for a lot of nice to haves. It just gives the reviewer more context to what's happening. And then you've got a live, not recorded. It's just a live interaction as if you were on the phone, only you've got a richer experience because you're using the video. And then there's a live panel interview that you could do. You could record this or not record it, but you've got a candidate. It's a one-to-many engagement where you've got a candidate and then you've got a panel of interviewers who are interacting with that candidate. And so once you decide what type of interview you're going to do, you want to be able to make sure you adapt it to your process. And by adapting it to your process, I always say start with the end in mind. Define the goals that you're trying to accomplish. Are you looking to make a hiring decision based on this interview? Or are you just trying to narrow down the pool of on-site candidates? Depending on how long you have to wait before you can get people face-to-face may drive and may inform what your goals are. The other thing is you want to find a way and build into this process a way to showcase your brand. Make sure you're highlighting what makes you unique and why would a candidate want to work for you. You also want to be able to show employees in your workplace doing real work. You can do that with video. You can share that video either during the interview or ahead of time. I would recommend ahead of time so that the candidate gets a better feel for what your company is about. And you want to be able to create that richer experience and that richer interaction. One of the things that happens on a video interview is people think, oh, it's a video interview. Just treat this video interview like it's a conversation, as if you were face-to-face with the candidate, and just build that communication. This happens all the time on social media where people are building relationships without ever getting to know, without ever knowing or meeting the person in face-to-face. Then the other thing that you really have to think about is there are going to be issues with technology. Be a little bit more forgiving with candidates about the technology issues they may have. You want to prepare for them and be ready to solve through them, but don't blame the candidate because they may have gone through all the steps to prep for that interview and technology just happened. The other thing is nerves. Candidates get nervous on a face-to-face interview, and they definitely get nervous when they're doing video interviews. I'm in the front of the camera all the time doing Zoom meetings, and For me, it's a daily occurrence and I'm just used to it. And sometimes our team forgets we're on camera, but when it's your first time and you don't do it regularly, there's a good chance you're going to be pretty nervous. The other thing you want to do is, as the employer, make sure you're investing in the bandwidth that you need and the equipment that you need to conduct a great video interview. Make sure that you're creating a video, you're creating a process where you can actually let the candidate know what they should expect. So if it's a one-way candidate interview that's recorded, you want to be able to talk to that candidate ahead of time and let them know, hey, it's going to be a little bit weird. You're going to be talking to a camera. There's not going to be any feedback or reaction from anyone, but just know on the other side of this camera, someone is going to review this. And so put your best foot forward, relax, and have fun with this interview. And then the last thing is you just want to practice. Make sure that you're practicing, you're testing all the time, and you're just doing things that allow you to get better at being in front of the camera. So here's some other things that you want to consider in the process. These are just examples. You would write your own process. You would build this out in a way that would work for you and your recruiting workflow. Some of the make sure you're contacting the candidate and letting them know, hey, we are interested in doing a video interview with you. You're going to tell them what kind of video interview it's going to be and make sure that you send them instructions on setting up for the video interview. You also want to prepare your interviewers because some may have never done a video interview and you just want to prepare them and get them comfortable. So you take all the weirdness, or at least as much of the weirdness, out of the process as you possibly can. Then you want to conduct the interview. If you're recording the interview, get the recording, get that interview shared with the people that need to see it. Take notes. If you're taking those notes, get those notes together so that the rest of the team can see that. This is about increasing the transparency and visibility to how decisions get made with your interview teams. And during the debrief, you want to be able to either share a video, share those notes, and discuss what happened during the interview, and then just update the team on what the decisions were once a final decision is made, and then update the candidate on next steps. I know that's recruiting 101 stuff, but I wanted to make sure I called it out here because video interviews should be additive to your process, not a distraction.